I'm Amelia Gibson, a 35-year-old freelance journalist, a mom just trying to hold my family together. That night at my mother-in-law's house in Bozeman, Montana, we sat around her polished dining table for a weekend family dinner. The air felt heavy, like everyone was playing a part. My mother-in-law's smile was too tight, her eyes darting to my husband. He avoided looking at me, poking at his food like it was his only job. My daughter, 8 years old, sat quietly, too quietly for her usual chatter. Something was wrong, but I couldn't place it. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Don't react. They're recording you. My heart stopped. I forced a smile, tucking my phone under the table. Another buzz. I glanced down. 31 missed calls from the same number. 31. My stomach twisted as I scanned the room. My mother-in-law's laugh sounded forced. My husband's fork scraped louder than it should. Who was they, and why were they watching me? The story has only just begun. Hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the next twist. After dinner, I couldn't shake the unease. That text, don't react. They're recording you, burned in my mind. I sat alone in my mother-in-law's Bozeman living room, the house eerily quiet, the air heavy with secrets. Everyone else was upstairs, supposedly asleep, but I didn't trust it. My eyes scanned the room, landing on a framed photo on the wall, an old family portrait, all fake smiles. Something felt off. I stepped closer, my heart pounding, and tilted the frame. A tiny lens gleamed in the corner, wired into the wood. A camera. My breath caught. Someone was watching me right here in this house. I forced myself back to the couch, my hands trembling. Who was behind this? My mother-in-law with her forced laugh at dinner. My husband who wouldn't meet my eyes. I grabbed my phone and typed to the unknown number. Who is this? What's going on? No reply. Just silence. Those missed calls stared back, mocking my distraction. I'd been too buried in work to notice, and now I was in deep. I needed to know what they were planning. The next morning, my husband left for work, my daughter was at school, and my mother-in-law was out at some community event. The house was empty. I crept into the kitchen where his laptop sat on the counter. I knew his password, his old college jersey, number 17. It unlocked. My fingers raced through folders, searching for anything suspicious. Then I found a folder labeled Work Archive. I clicked and my stomach dropped. Dozens of video files, timestamps stretching back months. I plugged in my earbuds and hit play. There I was in grainy footage, stepping out of the shower, changing in my bedroom, even lying in bed exhausted after a long day. Private moments stolen. My skin crawled. One video was different. My voice sounded harsh, like I was screaming, as if I'd lost control. I hadn't. They'd cut and spliced it, twisting my image into something unhinged. Then another video played and my blood ran cold. My mother-in-law's voice, low and calculated, speaking to my daughter. Your mom's too stressed to take care of you, isn't she? You'd be better off with me. My fists clenched, fury mixing with fear. They were using Isabella against me. I copied the files to a USB drive, my hand shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. I shoved it into my purse and glanced at the framed photo, that tiny lens mocking me. This wasn't just spying, it was a setup, and I was their target. I paced the kitchen, my mind spinning. My husband's nervous hands at dinner, my mother-in-law's fake smile, they were in on it. But how far did this go? I needed to be smart, to think like the journalist I was. Whoever sent that text knew something, and I had to find out what. The work archive folder was still there, but I dug deeper, checking his email. My heart raced as I found a thread buried in a folder labeled Drafts. Messages between my husband and someone listed as C. Perry, a name I didn't recognize. One email read, "The footage is ready. It'll convince anyone she's unfit. We'll move forward soon." My stomach churned. Unfit. They were building a case to take Isabella away. I forwarded the emails to my personal account, my fingers trembling, and deleted the sent trace. I couldn't risk them knowing I was onto them. I needed my own proof. That evening, while my mother-in-law was out, and my husband was at a late meeting, I ordered a small wireless camera online rush delivery. It arrived the next day, a discreet device no bigger than a button. I hid it in the living room, tucked inside a potted plant near the couch where my mother-in-law often sat with Isabella. If she was manipulating my daughter, I'd catch her. I tested the feed on my phone, the grainy image clear enough to record every word, every gesture. My chest tightened at the thought of spying on my own family, but they'd crossed that line first. I sent another text to the unknown number I found the camera. What do I do next? This time, a reply came. Meet me at the library on Spruce Street 2 p.m. tomorrow. It's Phyllis Gordon, your colleague. Phyllis, my coworker from the newsroom, the one who always pushed me to dig deeper on stories. Why was she involved? I didn't trust anyone completely, but I had no choice. I needed answers. The next day, I met Phyllis at the Bozeman Library, a quiet corner with shelves shielding us. She looked nervous, her eyes scanning the room. Amelia, she whispered, I overheard your mother-in-law at a real estate gala last week. She was talking to a lawyer friend, someone close to your husband. They're planning to use those videos to make you look like a bad mother to take Isabella. My throat tightened. Why? I asked, my voice barely steady. Phyllis leaned closer. It's about control. Your mother-in-law's real estate deals, your husband's involvement, there's money at stake and they don't want you in the way. I drove home, my mind racing. Money control. I thought of my mother-in-law's empire, her grip on the family. I needed to be strategic. That afternoon, I called a lawyer, Karen Holt, a contact from a story I'd covered on custody disputes. Over a secure line, I explained the videos, the camera, the emails. Start documenting everything, Karen said. Get more footage, keep records, and don't confront them yet. We'll build a case. I hung up, my resolve hardening. I wasn't just fighting for Isabella, I was fighting for our future. Back home, I checked the camera feed from the potted plant. My heart sank as it captured my mother-in-law with Isabella, her voice soft but venomous. Your mom doesn't love you, sweetie. You'll be happier with me. Isabella's small face crumpled and I clenched my fists, tears stinging my eyes. I saved the footage, time-stamped it, and backed it up to a cloud drive. Every piece of evidence brought me closer to exposing them, but it also broke my heart. My daughter was caught in their game. I kept digging through my husband's laptop when I could, finding more emails from C. Perry. One mentioned a property transfer tied to my mother-in-law's business, hinting at a bigger plan. Were they trying to cut me out financially too? I copied everything, my hands steady, now fueled by anger. I wasn't the helpless mother they thought I was. I'd fight back, and they'd regret underestimating me. I had to stay sharp. That morning, in my mother-in-law's Bozeman home, I reached into my purse for a pen and felt something unfamiliar, a folded piece of paper. My fingers hesitated before pulling it out. The note, scrawled in harsh block letters, read, "Leave, or your daughter will get hurt." My heart slammed against my ribs, the words echoing in my head. Someone had slipped this into my purse, and my mind went straight to my mother-in-law. Her icy demeanor, the way she lingered around Isabella, it all pointed to her. I clutched the note, my anger outweighing my fear. No one was going to threaten my daughter and walk away. I slipped the note into my jacket pocket, my hand steady despite the dread pooling in my stomach. I needed to know who was behind this and what they wanted. I kept my routine normal, dropping Isabella off at school, with a forced smile, her chatter about art class barely registering. My thoughts churned. Why a note? Why now? I suspected my mother-in-law, but I had no proof, and accusing her without evidence would only make things worse. I needed something concrete to pin her down. Around noon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, not the one from before, a different one. The message was a single image, a screenshot of a conversation between my husband and someone labeled C. Perry. My breath caught as I read it. She's asking too many questions. Shut it down. My husband's reply, "I'll handle her. Keep it under wraps." My skin prickled. This C. Perry was the same name from the emails I'd seen, but who were they? And what were they hiding? I saved the image to my phone, my mind racing. Whoever sent this wanted me to know, but their anonymity made me uneasy. Friend or foe, I couldn't tell. I spent the afternoon piecing together the puzzle, my suspicion of my mother-in-law growing. Her real estate empire, her control over the family, it all fit. But I needed more than a note and a screenshot. That afternoon, my sister-in-law Jean Carter called and asked to meet at a park near downtown Bozeman. I hesitated. She'd always been distant, tied to her mother's side, but I agreed. We met on a bench by the playground, Isabella's laughter from a nearby swing set cutting through the tension. Jean's face was pale, her hands fidgeting with her scarf. "Amelia," she said, her voice low, "I heard something you need to know." I leaned in, my pulse quickening. "What is it?" I asked, keeping my tone even. Jean glanced around, then spoke softly. "It's my mother and that lawyer, C. Perry. They're planning to sell your house, the one you and my brother own. They want to cut you out completely." My stomach dropped. Our home was my anchor, the one asset I'd fought to keep. Selling it would leave me with nothing, no stability for Isabella. "How do you know?" I pressed. Jean swallowed hard. "I overheard them at a cafe on Main Street talking about a quick sale to secure the family's interests." Her voice wavered, and I studied her, unsure if she was breaking ranks or playing a part. "Why tell me now?" I asked, my eyes locked on hers. "Because it's wrong," she said, barely meeting my gaze, "especially with Isabella caught in the middle." I nodded, processing her words. Jean wasn't my ally, but her information was gold. It confirmed my mother-in-law's hand in this and this. See, Perry was no bystander. I thanked her, my voice calm despite the storm inside, and watched her leave, her steps hurried. Back home, I pulled the note from my pocket, its words glaring under the kitchen light. I sealed it in a Ziploc bag, preserving it as evidence. They thought they could scare me away, but I was ready to fight. I tucked the letter away, my focus clear. 2 days later, I stood in the dimly lit banquet hall of Bozeman's community center, the air thick with chatter from my mother-in-law's business associates and family friends. I'd organized this charity fundraiser ostensibly to support a local shelter, knowing she'd fund it to boost her reputation. The room was packed, suits and dresses, mingling glasses, clinking, my mother-in-law's smile radiating false warmth as she worked the crowd. My husband stood nearby, his eyes darting to me every few seconds. Isabella was with a sitter at home, safe from what was about to unfold. I gripped the remote for the projector, my heart steady, but my palms damp. I'd spent the day preparing editing clips from the videos I'd gathered, carefully selecting the ones that showed my mother-in-law's true face. These weren't the distorted ones meant to frame me. These were raw, unedited, capturing her words to my daughter in stark clarity. I'd also found a new email chain that morning, buried in an account my mother-in-law thought was hidden. The sender was Constance Perry, a name I hadn't heard before, but whose initials matched the C. Perry from earlier. The emails detailed a plan to manipulate perceptions to paint me as unfit, all to secure their financial grip. I'd printed them ready to display. As dessert was served, I stepped to the podium, my voice calm but firm. "Thank you all for coming," I began, the room quieting. "This event is about giving back, but it's also about truth." My mother-in-law's smile faltered, her eyes narrowing. I clicked the remote and the screen behind me lit up with the first video. It showed her sitting with Isabella, her voice cold. "Your mom can't handle you, sweetheart. You belong with me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Her business partners shifted uncomfortably, their faces tightening. I played another clip, this one, unedited, her words sharper. "We'll make sure she's out of the picture." The room grew tense, whispers spreading. I switched to the emails, projecting them for all to see. "These are from Constance Perry," I said, my voice steady, detailing a plan to discredit me to take my daughter. The screen displayed a message. "The narrative is set. She'll look unstable and will control the assets. My mother-in-law's face drained of color, her hands gripping the table. My husband stood, his voice sharp. "Amelia, stop this," he shouted, moving toward the podium. I held my ground, clicking to the next email, one that named him as complicit Andrew. Ensure she doesn't suspect until it's done. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, eyes turning to him. He reached for the projector cord, but a local council member, stepped in, his voice low but firm. "Let her finish." My husband froze, his face a mix of anger and panic. I continued, my words cutting through the tension. "This isn't just about me. It's about my daughter, about lies meant to tear us apart." I played one final video showing my mother-in-law's calculated tone as she told Isabella I didn't care for her. The room fell silent, the weight of her betrayal sinking in. Her partners exchanged glances, some shaking their heads, others whispering furiously. My mother-in-law stood, her voice trembling but defiant. "This is a misunderstanding," she said, her eyes darting to the crowd. "She's twisting everything." But the evidence was undeniable, and her words sounded hollow. A woman in a sharp blazer, likely one of her investors, stood and walked out, followed by others. My husband tried again, his voice softer now, almost pleading. "Amelia, you're ruining everything." I met his gaze, unyielding. "You did that yourselves?" I said, my voice low but firm. The projector dimmed and I stepped back from the podium, the silence deafening. My mother-in-law's empire, built on her carefully curated image, was crumbling before her eyes. Her partners avoided her gaze, their trust shattered. My husband stood motionless, his attempt to stop me futile. I'd laid bare their plan, not just for me, but for everyone to see. The room fell silent. My truth laid bare. 1 month after the fundraiser, after the gavel fell in the Bozeman courthouse, I secured full custody of Isabella. My mother-in-law's access was cut off. Her reputation shattered by the evidence I'd exposed. My husband was now entangled in a fraud investigation, his real estate dealings under scrutiny. Walking out with Isabella's hand in mine, her smile brighter than ever, I felt a fleeting sense of peace. We'd moved into a rental home on Bozeman's quiet outskirts, a fresh start, away from their reach. But I stayed vigilant, knowing their influence might not fade so easily. While unpacking the next day, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A photo of our new house stared back at me, snapped from the street with the words, "Victory is never the end." My chest tightened, the message a cold reminder that someone was watching. This wasn't like the earlier threats I'd uncovered, its directness chilled me. I glanced at Isabella playing nearby with her dolls, unaware of the danger. My mind raced to Constance Perry, the lawyer tied to my mother-in-law's schemes. Her resources made her the likely culprit, but I needed more than suspicion. As I tucked Isabella in that night, I kept my fears hidden, locking the doors and checking the windows with quiet precision. The photo lingered in my thoughts, its angle suggesting a car parked across the street. Sleep didn't come, my instincts urging me to act. While settling into our new routine, I searched the house, my hands tracing every shelf and corner. Behind a ceramic vase in the living room, I found a tiny camera, its lens glinting faintly. My stomach twisted, someone had been inside spying on us. I removed it with care, sealing it in a plastic bag, its sleek design pointing to someone with means like Constance. Later, I called Karen Holt, my lawyer, over a secure line, my voice steady despite the shock. I described the camera and the message asking how to proceed. "Keep it as evidence," she said firmly. "Document everything where you found it, the time, the condition." I nodded, locking the bag in a drawer. I also arranged for a security company to install new locks and an alarm system by morning. This house was supposed to be our sanctuary, but it felt tainted. I wouldn't let it stay that way, not with Isabella here. While helping Isabella arrange her books, her laughter eased my tension, but the threat loomed. I studied the photo again, noting the angle, likely from a neighbor's driveway. I planned to check the street soon, looking for anything suspicious. Constance's involvement seemed almost certain, her real estate connections giving her access to such devices. But why continue now after the court's ruling? Was she working alone, or was there another hand at play? After weighing my options, I contacted Mark, a private investigator I'd trusted on a past story. We met at a small Bozeman cafe where I handed him the camera and a printout of the message. "Trace this," I said, my tone resolute. "Start with Constance Perry." He studied the device, his brow creasing. "This isn't cheap," he noted. "I'll dig into it, but it'll take time." I nodded, my determination unwavering. The court had protected Isabella, but this new threat meant the fight wasn't over. I locked the camera away, my fight far from over. 2 weeks after the court ruling, while waiting for answers from the private investigator, I met with Detective Sarah Monroe at the Bozeman police station. I handed over the camera and the printed message, my hand steady as I explained their significance. Sarah's sharp eyes studied the evidence, her nod reassuring. "We'll take it from here," she said, her voice calm but resolute. She promised to coordinate with Mark, the investigator, to trace the camera's origin. I left the station with a flicker of hope, knowing the truth was closer to surfacing. Isabella was at home with a trusted neighbor, her laughter a reminder of why I kept pushing. After a sleepless night, I got a call from Sarah. They'd tracked the camera to a supplier linked to Constance Perry's law firm. Armed with a warrant, the police searched her Bozeman apartment that day. What they found stunned me. Files filled with photos of Isabella and me, notes on our daily routines, and records of my husband's financial dealings. Constance had been orchestrating a campaign to monitor us, her motives tied to protecting the family's crumbling empire. Andrew was implicated too, his signatures on fraudulent documents tying him to the scheme. By evening, both were arrested, Constance for violating our privacy, Andrew for fraud. The news spread quickly, their reputations in tatters as colleagues distanced themselves. While sifting through the aftermath, I realized staying in Bozeman wasn't safe. The next morning, I packed our essentials, my heart heavy but certain. Isabella and I drove west, settling in a small Oregon town nestled among pine trees. The quiet streets and friendly neighbors felt like a balm after years of tension. Our new home, a cozy cottage with a garden, gave Isabella space to play, her giggles echoing as she chased butterflies. I enrolled her in a local school, watching her bloom in a place free from the shadows of our past. Cutting ties with my husband's family was final. No calls, no letters, no chance for their influence to creep back. As I settled into our new routine, I felt compelled to share our story. Sitting at my desk one evening, I poured my experiences into an article for a national magazine. I wrote about the betrayal, the fight for Isabella, and the strength it took to expose the truth. The words flowed raw and honest, detailing how manipulation unraveled under scrutiny. When the article was published, messages poured in from women across the country, their stories of resilience mirroring mine. They thanked me for giving them courage, for showing that standing firm could break even the tightest grip of deceit. Knowing I'd inspired others made the scars worthwhile. Reflecting on the ordeal, I learned that truth and persistence could dismantle even the most calculated plans. But I also understood that enemies rarely vanish completely. Their motives linger, waiting for a crack to slip through. I kept our new address private, used secure lines for communication, and stayed alert for anything unusual. Isabella's safety was my priority, and I'd never let my guard down again. The arrests had ended one chapter, but vigilance would shape our future. I closed my laptop, ready for our new life.